editor-writer named Jerry Conway, and I said, Jerry, you write the next couple of issues of Spider-Man for me. I'm not going to be around. When I came back from Europe, I found out he had killed Gwen. I said, what the hell did you do that for? I said, I thought it'd be a good idea. I almost killed him. And that was the story about poor Gwen. Oh, and the funny thing is, a few issues earlier, I had killed Gwen's father, Captain Stacy, but I did that dramatically and for a reason. And all of a sudden, it looked as if I had a vendetta against the Stacy family. You know? Anyway, that's what, I don't remember what the question was, but that's the answer anyway.
How about the little dude right here?
If you could make Daredevil a movie with an extended storyline, what would you add?
If you can make the next, I'll just kind of, if you can make the next Daredevil movie, what would the storyline be?
You know, I'd love to impress you with my brilliance by telling you, but I have no idea. I couldn't come up with anything that quickly. I'd have to go home, sit in front of the computer, type a few things, and try to figure it out. First, I'd have to figure out who'll the villain be. Will it be a villain he's already had and will repeat the villain, or would it be better to bring in a new one? Or should I bring him in a new one plus the old one and make a team out of them? Then I'd have to figure out what would be different about the problem that Daredevil is facing this time than all the other problems he's faced. And that's what you have to think about when you do any new story in a superhero book, or even if you're not writing superhero stuff, if you're writing crime novels or anything, you try to think of what you've done. Now, what can you do different, but still without violating all of the rules you've set up and without changing the personality of the characters? You've almost got to be a psychiatrist. I always wondered why I didn't get an honorary degree, but that's another story.
We've just got a few more questions. First one right here.
In 1980s, Japanese TV series Spider-Man, when Spider-Man fighting bad guy, he rides a big road. How did you think about big roads up here?
He told me about that. Yeah, that's a good one. He's talking about back in the day when Spider-Man was made in Japan. They had their own TV series. Remember how he used to tell me? And the villain would be this huge creature.
A robot.
Yeah, and then Spider-Man or Peter Parker would jump into the Spider-Man robot.
What was the question?
What did you think of it, of the series?
Well, can I be honest?
Yeah.
I thought it was very strange because every episode was the same as the last one, because Peter Parker would be walking down the street and suddenly there'd be an evil robot that came along and was trying to kill people, and Peter would go to where he had a robot and his robot would fight the other one and beat it. And then for the next episode, a different bad robot would come along, and Peter would go where he had his robot and get into it, and he'd beat the different bad robot. Then the next week there'd be a different bad robot. And somehow, I mean, it seemed to work. The series went on and on. I guess people loved robots. They probably cared more about the robots than Peter.
Let's try my man right here in the red.
Have you tried any of the local food yet? Any favorites? Any of them?
He's asking if you tried any of the local food yet. He just barely got here. Literally, he came from the airport straight to the governor's.
Well, the governor had some treats for us. We did have, I forget what was on the plate, but they gave us a plate of something. And it tasted pretty good, whatever it was. I was too busy trying to think how not to make a fool of myself when I met the governor that I wasn't concentrating enough on what I was eating. But they were very nice. They had this whole plate with stuff on it.
I always tease him about that. Sometimes he asks me, I gotta be careful too, because he gets upset with me. He's, I'm telling him how I tease you about the food. He asked me, what is that? And I said, that's a filet mignon or whatever, petite steak. Why a petite? And I go, Stan, that poor baby calf, I had to cut its leg off. It only has 3 legs and it's walking around. And he does this to me. And then in the morning, it's, Max, only 2 eggs? And I go, Stan, this is funny. I go, Stan, that poor chicken, he couldn't do no more eggs. I had to squeeze and squeeze.
Well, we all want to welcome us to the Max Anderson Show.
I tease him all the time. Okay, how about my guy right there?
Stan Lee, I'd like to know who are your least and most favorite supervillains.
Which one is your least and most favorite supervillain?
My least favorite superhero.
Villain.
Villain.
And what do you like the most?
Well, my least favorite one is a guy named Diablo. I don't remember what book he was in. Fantastic Four. Jack Kirby and I had a deadline. We had to get a book out quickly to the printer in about 2 weeks. And I didn't have an idea for a story. But I thought of a villain's name. I thought Diablo was a great name for a villain. So I said, draw me a Diablo. And he drew a real sinister looking guy, and I said, great. And I wrote some sort of story, I guess. But I don't remember really who Diablo was or what his superpower was. And to this day, I don't know who the hell Diablo is. I don't even know, are they still using him? No, thank goodness. But that's my least favorite villain, mainly because he was just a name to me and nothing else. I have so many favorite villains. Again, starting with Dr. Doom and Doc Ock and Kingpin was good. He started out white in the book and he was black in the movie. Now he's white again. No, I think that they make him Asian. And, I don't know, the Vulture and one guy I liked was, who's the fellow that could make his body soft and hard and, what was his name? Sandman, yeah. I thought that was real clever, because if you shot him, the bullet would go through him, because his body was made of sand. But if he wanted to hit you, he'd harden the sand and just pop you. And he could make himself crawl under a door. You know, he could move the sand any way he wanted. He was a great villain. We should use him more often. And you may not have noticed this, but I am really my favorite fan. I loved every villain and every hero I've ever done, except that damn Diablo.
I'm sorry. Okay, we got a couple more right here.
You said that 10 minutes ago.
But they're good questions. Go ahead, buddy.
So do you foresee or approve a merging of the two universes, Marvel and DC?
Does he see what?
Does he approve or foresee the movies, the DC and the Marvel
Oh.
universes?
Do you think you foresee Marvel and DC coming together to make a movie?
You know, you're so unfair.
I say Marvel first.
No, I had a reason for saying that and I forgot. Marvel and DC coming together to make a movie? Not in the near future. I don't think so. I'll tell you a funny thing about the name DC, though. You may appreciate it, you may not. You may not like it. I'm taking a big chance telling you this. We were called Atlas Comics, and after the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man and so forth, but they did so well, I said, we ought to change our name because we have like a new group of comics. And I came up with the name Marvel because my publisher's first book 1 million years ago had been called Marvel something. So we changed it from whatever it was to Atlas. We changed it to Marvel. And I like advertising. With a name like Marvel, I could come up with phrases like, make mine Marvel, welcome to the Marvel age of comics, you know, things like that. Well, DC was then called National Comics. And they were all, it looked like they were always copying us. So somebody at DC must have gotten the bright idea, if Atlas changed its name to Marvel, why don't we change National to something? And what did they come up with? We came up with Marvel, and they came up with DC. Not much competition. If there are any DC people here, I'm only kidding.
Go ahead, point yourselves out right now. Let's see. Okay, this is the last question. It's gotta be good. It's gotta be good because it's just gotta be good. Let's see. I'll let my buddy pick him up. Which guy? One with the camera? There you go. Last question, buddy. Make it good.
I really enjoyed your superhero show. What most did you learn from that show?
Stanley Superheroes? Ooh. He says he really enjoyed your Stanley Superhero show. What did you most enjoy about it?
I loved that show, and I don't know why it didn't become a bigger hit. For some reason, the network that had it never promoted it. But I thought it was great because you saw people doing things that they couldn't possibly do, but they were doing them. And one of my favorites, there was a guy who could get up on a tall tower about 20 feet high, and there'd be a little plastic pool that you buy for a little 3-year-old to get wet out in the garden. And it was filled with about 1.5 inches of water. And this guy would jump from the 20-foot tower into that 1/2 inch of water and survive somehow. Then there was another guy who could put an electric drill against his forehead and turn it on, and it didn't seem to hurt him. All I could think of was, what makes a guy wake up in the morning and say, gee, I'll bet if I put a drill against it. So it was a great show, and thank you for mentioning it. And you're a great audience.
All right, guys, thank you very much.
I forgot the most important thing. Excelsior!